So now I'm going to go into Adobe Illustrator, which I have running in the background. By pressing Command-Tab on the PC, that would be Alt-Tab. And if you don't have Illustrator, just sit back and relax and watch the rest of this lesson. And I've got this shape here that I created, and it's simply a dashed line. And if you want to create a dashed line, these are pretty easy to do. The big thing that you want to consider when you're bringing in a shape from Illustrator into Photoshop is that you want to have closed paths. If you don't have closed paths, what's going to happen is that Photoshop will close it for you. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I made this dashed line, and see how it's closing? That's the kind of shape you don't really want in Illustrator. So I'm switching this to be stroke only, and of course X works in here as well. I am going to go to my stroke panel, pull this out so you can see it, make this stroke a little bit thicker, dash it, but then I'm also going to choose under Object, Path, to outline this stroke. And now what I have are just separate shapes. So I need to make sure that I have all of them active, and I can choose Copy. I can go back to Photoshop, and I can paste. And a message comes up, or a dialog box comes up asking, how do you want to paste this? As a smart object, as pixels, a path, a shape layer? I'm going to say Path, because when I place this as a path, even though it's so teeny, when I go up to Edit and I define a custom shape, I can call this dashed line, and then I can make it as big as I want when I'm placing it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Go back to my custom shape, choose that I want to use my dashed line, and I can click and drag this out to be virtually any size I want and any color. So I can double click on this, and I can choose that I want this to be white, and I can transform it, Command T, spin this around, and I'll go ahead and do one other path. Hit the Enter key. I'll take another path down here. And with these paths, I'll go ahead and I'll change the transparency. I can press 5 to make them 50% transparent. I can add a mask, take my gradient tool, and on this mask, fade out this dashed line. Again, see when I click off of it, you can see I've created this dash that is fading now. I'll take this one, add a mask, and change the opacity to maybe 80% by pressing simply 8 while I have this selected. Oh, didn't quite get that layer. Let me go ahead and change that to 80%. There we go. And going in, clicking on the mask, taking my gradient tool, and just so you know, here's where that 80% was going, and you have to be careful with this. I was pressing 8 to try to change the layer, and what was I changing? The active gradient tool, so just keep that in mind. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull my gradient to change the way that this fades. Now notice, if I wanted to, I could just take this gradient mask and move it into another layer to achieve a different look for my image. And then I can drag the whole layer down so that it moves it behind the butterfly. And I'll make sure that this layer is on top as well. Great. So by working with shapes, you can incorporate a whole bunch of those features that you use in Photoshop with vector paths. I'm going to take this guy right here. You can see that I am seeing through to the stroke underneath with that gradient, and I can of course shift click to disable that. But this is a vector path, which means when this prints at any size, these edges are going to be perfectly clean. And it allows you to incorporate a whole bunch of other items from Illustrator into Photoshop for unlimited possibilities.